I'm Nia Durant and I'm from Leicester. So I got into it when I was 13 because my friend started it, and I'd already done gymnastics and dancing, so I liked that it was all of it together and it was a team sport, so I really enjoyed that. I was being asked to come in early, stay late after training to help with coaching the little ones, planning routines. Then she would give me lifts home because it was later, pick me up earlier so I could go in earlier than what I could get there or what my parents could get there, buy me presents, take me out for food. With my parents, we've got 6 children, so we couldn't do that, go out for meals or go away or anything like that. So I just thought, like, great, I've never done this before, so it was exciting at the time. Rather than her dropping me home straight away after training, she would go by random like lay-bys or roads, anything like that, her siblings' houses or her parents' houses, take me in, and start off with it would be stuff like planning cheer, and then slowly it'd start with like touching on top of clothes before obviously she realised she could get away with that. And then it progressed more and more till it was underclothes and full-blown sexual abuse. At the time I didn't really know what was going on. It was all very hushed, and I was struggling a lot with like my mental health at that time, which was clearly a result of the abuse. She took me to France for what she told my parents was a cheerleading competition. There was actually a competition at the time, but there was never a plan for us to actually go there. So she took me to France, put different names on the hotel, so they obviously couldn't tell that it was me because I was underage and it was sharing a bed. Told my parents obviously we were staying in separate rooms, separate beds, everything like that. That's when the kind of bigger sexual stuff started happening. I wasn't allowed like friends, boyfriends, wasn't allowed to go out, wasn't allowed to see my own like family. So it all got very like controlled to what I was doing day by day. There was a few times where I tried to leave cheer, but I also worked for her as well. So it was very controlling and like, you're not getting your wages, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And I was relying on the money at the time for like my car and insurance and everything like that as I got older. So it was very trapped until I went to uni. She'd have like all the passwords to my phones, all my social media. She'd check it regularly to make sure like who I was talking to. I'd have to ask permission if I was going to go out or see friends. And then if she didn't like obviously who I was going to be with, then it would be like a no, or she would want to be in the same place like at the same time, so she knew what was going on and who I was with, what I was saying. I had to ask for constant approval of everything I did before I could actually do it. When I was younger I didn't really understand it much. I just thought like, oh, it's just because I want to do cheer and I want to do well at it. But obviously as I got older it became really isolating, and I struggled a lot with like depression and anxiety and just loneliness, having no one to talk to. But so when I was at uni I was still at cheer as well, so I did uni in Leicester. I didn't tell anyone I was applying for it, but I just thought, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to tell anyone because no one could stop me. And I was doing primary education, and the more obviously I was going into schools, the more policies and everything I was learning, the more about safeguarding, the more I questioned and the more that was coming back to me about my actual abuse and how wrong it actually was, and the length for what she did to get to where she could with me. What was happening was wrong, and then that led to me leaving and then reporting to the police. So I spoke to one officer first who just disregarded it straight away, and after that I asked for a different officer who was specialised in abuse, and he just put it down to motherly instinct and it being female on female abuse, which obviously wasn't really heard of, so it was just disregarded again. And then I spoke to the sergeant with my parents, and that was the kind of change in all of it, and he was like, no, this is serious, we need to deal with it. And he was like amazing. It was the first time I'd actually been listened to, and then he obviously gave me to the officer that was going to deal with it, and that was a lady officer this time. And again she was brilliant the whole way through, and obviously that got us to get in the charges and the convictions, but it wasn't like a straightforward process. Even so, with that it took like 6 years to get to court. At first obviously went to magistrates court, and because of the nature of the crime it had to be dealt with in Crown Court, but she just had to do her plead first, which she pled obviously not guilty. Then when it went to Crown Court the first time it did start, but there was some missed evidence, and obviously it had to be adjourned for defence to bring their story about the evidence. After that it was due to various reasons, COVID, barrister strikes, court space. It was mentally draining, like each time to relive that every single time. You get your hopes up for it to happen. Now she's sentenced, it like has taken like a massive weight off my shoulders. I'm glad that she does have to deal with the consequences of her own actions, and also much better in knowing that she's not just walking around the street and I could bump into her at any point is nice to know that.